Welcome back to Lit parentheses Arary podcast with your hosts Gray Osgood and my fellow hostees Jacob and Nicole. Everyone say hi at the same time. Alright, so in this podcast we are discussing the book In Cold Blood. This is a good book and we all have a common agreement on this. But there are some negative parts about this book, but overall it's a really good book. It's really fun to read, and in this podcast we'll discuss why there's certain appeals in this book, why Truman Capote, the author of the book, chose to write in certain manners, and all that. So let's get into it. Alright, so how would you describe the author's writing style in this story?
I would definitely say that it's kind of descriptive. Sometimes there's parts of the book where there's a lot of parts where you're like, well, I don't really know if this is necessary, like a vital part of the story, but it's there. Other than that, it is kind of good to have that description if you get a little bit confused about what's going on. So.
It also makes you the book being really descriptive really appeals to the certain readers who want to be in, actually feel like they're in the book. And Capote does a really good job of making the reader feel that they're in the book.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, so what do you guys think draws the reader into the book?
Well, what first drew me into the book was it was a book about murder. And not to sound dark or anything, but those are always ones that have a lot of, they're interesting, you want to find out why the killers are doing what they're doing, what was their motive. You want to find out how the detectives were able to catch them. And I think that's what really drew me into the book.
Yeah, what about you, Jacob?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. It's intriguing to find out how it's gonna end out in the end with how they solved the case and what the detectives went throughout the whole process of finding the murderers.
It's like a written CSI episode.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. What does the reader learn from this book?
I feel like you get a good idea of what exactly the town went through with this murder, because the entire town was pretty close to the family, and you kind of really get a feel like you were immersed in the town, like you were a member of the community.
Yeah. In addition to what Nicole said, the kind of the backstory behind the murders and what events led up to them wanting to actually commit this crime, and what kind of feelings, what kind of history in their past kind of made them and influenced them to come to this point. So yeah. Is this book told in a narrative style or research style or academic style? I think we can all
I would say it's told in more primarily a narrative style, because the way Capote writes it as if he was there the whole time, from his perspective, and he knows everything that's going on in the case. So it's definitely narrative because he feels like he was there.
Yeah. I would say so the next question is what appeals that Ethos Pesos Logos does the author employ in the story? And he does a lot of obviously a lot of pathos regarding all the emotion in the story and all behind the murders, the whole town, kind of feeling this this crime and why it was committed against these lovely people. But also he kind of embeds ethos and logos a little bit into it, by kind of the ethics behind the court case and what kind of ruling, what proper ruling, what justifiable ruling was kind of necessary to inflict on the two criminal duo, being Dick and Perry. What would you guys say what makes this book unique?
Well, the way that the author has written this book is the first of its kind. It's a non-fiction story written as a fictional story. It's going in with the story, and it's giving you conversations of the criminals, as they're planning it out, as they're doing things, and it's the first of its kind. So it's yeah.
What was your overall feeling or reaction to this book? After you read it, but don't try not to include spoilers, because we don't want our listeners to know exactly what happens in the book. So, okay. What was your overall feeling of the book after reading
it? I thought it was very relieving to find out in the end how it turned to be the story. I thought it was cool to I'm gonna spoil it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's kind of hard to spoil. like,
just
not
cut that
spoil
part
it.
out. You
Yeah.
can just cut that
It's hard
part
to
out.
talk about.
All right. So how do you feel about it, Nicole?
It was a very kind of emotional book. You know, as any murder cases, you definitely feel really sorry for like the victims, and you want justice for their families. So I feel like it was really well written. I thought it was a good book.
What I really like about it is that how the author kind of described Dick and Perry and how he wants the reader to kind of feel about those two criminals and kind of have like their emotions kind of change throughout the story, which I thought was a really good way to kind of bring up that kind of feeling for the audience. So yeah, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you for tuning in to Lit Parentheses a Rarity Podcast. I'm Gray. That's Jacob, Nicole, and we'll see you next time.
Cool.
All right. Okay.